Welcome to the Windows Computer and Technology channel, and I've got quite a few people kind of asking, how come Microsoft has become so pushy in having new versions of Windows or having, moving from one version to another. Like now we're starting to see that maybe Windows 11 will be forced on Windows 10 users that have compatible machines. And the question comes to how come, they didn't do that in the past. But you got to remember one thing is that the door opened up for such a behavior with something that was called Windows as a Service. If you remember, Windows 10 opened the door to Windows as a Service, also opening the door to every feature update just coming through, being pushed to Windows 10 users, which had all of the different updates for the different builds that were done over time up to Windows 10 22H2, which was and is the last build for Windows 10. So before that, if you were on Windows 7, you weren't pushed to anything on Windows XP either. That wasn't the way it worked. It wasn't the way Windows was designed. Even Windows 8, which kind of is a hybrid, in between Windows 10 and Windows 7, but they weren't Windows as a service. You weren't being pushed to the next version of Windows. You typically had to buy a copy of that Windows version to install it on your PC if you wanted that new version, or buy a new PC and that's it. Nothing would be forced on you in any way. So what happens is that Windows as a Service changed all of that and started giving us forced updates. And it's one of the features of Windows as a Service. It's a service. It's updating the Windows operating system regularly with new features and having new builds all the time. And of course, that was to the extreme of up to twice. They even wanted at some point 3 updates a year, which was totally impossible. They had a hard time even with 2 until they finally settled with 1. And then they tried it again in Windows 11. While they were giving us new builds, they would in between give us moments, these famous new features that would arrive here and there during that year before we moved on to a new version. And now they're back to a once a year update, which means 25H2 is coming later this year at the end of the year. But still, Windows as a Service is pushing things around all the time. So Windows 10 is being forced updated to Windows 11 at some point because it's at end of support. And if your machine is compatible, Microsoft wants you to move on. Once again, this is due to Windows as a Service. It's the way that it was designed, and it annoys a lot of people. You could see that Windows as a Service pushing people forward automatically when you don't really have to do it immediately. Because let's face it, Windows 11 could be pushed, forced updated to you if you want, say in September, a month before Windows 10 end of support. But of course, they're going to do it sooner. Same happens right now with Windows 11 24H2. When you look at Windows 11 24H2, you notice that 23H2 users still have until October, November of this year before they have to move on. But Microsoft has decided in January, early year, we're forced updating everybody. So, this is a thing that they've never mentioned about Windows as a Service, is that we can force update you to anything we want all the time. And that is one way that actually Microsoft is annoying a lot of people. So it's happening now with Windows 10 where, even though they seem to be just like, hinting that Windows 11 is available, but at some point it's just going to be, oh, here it is. And oh, by the way, restart. Windows 11 is going to be installed. So that's the bad side of Windows as a Service. As Microsoft just pushes whatever it wants all the time on your system. And that is why there's such a big difference suddenly between, the past Windows and Windows 10 and 11 today. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.